Facing what is sure to be a drubbing in the midterm elections, the Biden administration, at least according to a top aide, is teasing some action on student loan debt. So now, I'm skeptical. Y'all are skeptical. I know. So let's get to the details here. This is from Politico, which you know is Establishment 101. So now, here's what they write. The Biden administration is considering again extending the freeze on federal student loan payments and interest for roughly 40 million Americans before it expires at the beginning of May. This is according to Ron Klain, who was talking to podcast Pod Save America. So this was on Thursday. Quote, the president is going to look at what we should do on student loan debt before the pause expires, or he'll extend the pause. So now that is very interesting here. He added, Joe Biden right now is the only president in history where no one's paid on their student loans for the entirety of his presidency. Adding the White House would make a decision on whether to use executive action to cancel student debt before the payments resume, which of course that latest extension is set to expire May 2nd. Now, if you hear that and you're skeptical, I'm with you. I'm with you. Again, I have myself said that they are not going to cancel student loan debt. They didn't want to cancel 50,000. Obviously, they didn't want to cancel all of them. They didn't even want to cancel 10,000. Now, I think we should cancel all of them. But that said, is another extension possible? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, why do I say that? Consider the source. This is Ron Klain. This is Joe Biden's top advisor. Do you think Ron Klain would go and say this if he wasn't cleared to say this? This is a major, major thing. And by the way, this is before a midterm election. So keep that timing in mind, okay? No, if you go on a podcast and you say something as part of the Biden administration, that's got some weight to it. And by the way, Politico, in picking up on this, once again, Politico as Establishment 101, if you want to get a talking point out, who do you go to? You go to Politico. And by the way, it is telling, when you read an article from the establishment press, you kind of get the framing, right? So now, what's the framing on this? Generally, when you look at something that's a progressive priority, and you go to Politico, their framing determines where the mindset of members of the administration in the establishment are, where they are, where that framing is coming from, right? So I looked at the article. Is there negative framing? No. That's the surprising part. No negative framing in this article. And to me, that signals to me that President Biden or his advisors, they're looking at the polls and they're saying, uh-oh, we might want to do something. Now, a lot of that, of course, is again, you look at the polls, they're kind of disastrous as far as at least domestic policy has gone. And so you think, well, this doesn't look good for the midterms. We haven't delivered anything. The corporate handouts, bill that was the infrastructure, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, tried playing that up at the State of the Union. Again, on domestic policy, he's been incredibly weak on this. But foreign policy has actually been kind of surprising. I'm actually kind of in favor of Joe Biden's foreign policy right now. Yeah, at least it's been a lot better than some of the previous administrations. But anyway, so now, here's what they write. Quote, this is the only mention of progressives. Once again, Politico loves to trash progressives. Here's what they wrote. Progressives and some other Democrats have expressed political concerns about sending tens of millions of Americans student loan bills before the midterm elections this fall, especially when prominent members of the party have been promising debt cancellation for years. That is interesting. Very, very interesting, Politico. Actually saying, well, progressives, they've been talking about this and other Democrats, but, it's been prominent members of the Democratic Party. We're really the ones who came up with this debt cancellation idea. Oh, I see where you're going here. Hey, but look, if they want to if they actually do some form of debt cancellation and they want to take credit for it, all right. Hey, I don't care as long as it happens. That's what matters here. But yes, it's been a progressive priority. Progressives have been the ones that are pushing for it. But if the establishment actually wants to adopt this and do something, I'm not going to stop them. I'm not going to stop them at all. So now, getting back to, and by the way, just another note, one of the Democrats who was most against doing something about student loan debt, I will remind you, is Joe Biden. Joe Biden, not in favor of the more robust debt cancellation measures. In fact, look, the Biden administration has been sitting on these memos, which we have pointed out over and over again. Biden has the authority to cancel student loan debt. Any amount that he wants. He could cancel the $10,000 that he promised during the campaign. He could cancel the $50,000 that Elizabeth Warren had been calling for, or he could cancel all of it, which is what Bernie Sanders and other progressives had been calling for. He could do any one of those things. He could. But he hasn't yet. But it looks like he might actually be heading sort of in that direction. Again, I'm not going to say, the victory, yeah, he's definitely going to cancel student loan debt. No. I'm not saying that. I'll believe it when I see it. But this seems to be an indication that they're going in that direction. So now, back to the article here. Klain's remarks, they write, are the clearest public comments from any Biden administration official in recent weeks indicating that the Education Department may further extend the freeze on federal student loan payments and interest, which, again, that's likely what they're going to do. Klain also, for the first time, though, linked the Biden administration's decision-making on whether to cancel student loan debt to the resumption of student loan payments. Again, with Klain linking that definitely means they're having this conversation in the White House right now. In fact, here's Klain playing up the idea that, and again, they're watching the polling on this, nobody having to have paid student loan debt. Quote, right now, people aren't having to pay on their loans. And so I think dealing with the executive branch question, what they've been sitting on, what we should do about that, what his powers are, how much we should do on that, that's something we're going to deal with later on. And of course, there's the but. They're going to deal with it probably after the midterms. So here's what I see happen. I see an extension of the freeze until after the midterms. And then, at best case scenario, maybe the 10,000, maybe the 10,000, and then Democrats will go, mission accomplished, we can now move forward. Now, 10,000 will help, no doubt. It'll take a big chunk out of a lot of student loans, but it's not enough. I mean, why do that when we could cancel everything? Cancel all the student loans. And by the way, that's not the only solution to the problem because, well, that's a minor reprieve. It's kind of like Reagan doing amnesty for immigration. You didn't actually fix the immigration system. You put a Band-Aid on it. It's still broken. And so, yes, if Joe Biden cancels student loan debt, whether it be 10,000, 50,000, or in an extremely unlikely all of it, or any president, by the way, well, you're still going to have the problem of colleges being unaffordable. And until you publicly fund all colleges and universities and make them tuition free, then you're going to end up having this same problem crop up in like another 10, 15 years. So now, of course, are the Democrats, are they going to care about that? Again, that is a possibility. that they'll be like, oh, we'll just kick the can down the road. But then again, that's also what freezing the student loan payments now is doing, kicking the can down the road so that they don't have to make that decision and possibly piss off some of the student loan company donors. And that's, of course, a very important piece of this as well. And so, you know, look, again, going back to what I see this, I don't see them canceling a significant portion of student loans. But it could, you know, they'll do the freeze very likely. And the reason, and by the way, the reason I think they're putting up this messaging is that they're doing a bit of an A/B test. Now, you probably heard of what that is. In case you're not familiar, they're testing the audience to see what polls better. So it's kind of like a live focus group, you know? Oh, you know, we could cancel student loan debt or put out the freeze. And so whatever polls better, they will likely do if they're concerned enough about what happens in the midterms. But as far as this is going, look, this Ron Klain coming out and saying this, that is significant. That is real. And so it's really, it shows that the administration is concerned enough about this topic, and more, you know, more likely the polling on this and what's going to happen in the midterms, well, that they're floating this idea, and they're going to see what happens and see if they can use this to avoid a Republican wipeout. We'll see what happens, but I think this is very encouraging, at least on some relief.